Hi guys. So I know that you don't always have time for an hour-long session. And so today I would like to do a short flow for hips. And you can do this seated like so. If this is uncomfortable because your hips are super tight, you can sit up on something. You can use a rolled blanket, towel, bolster, or yoga block, and just place it right under the hips like that. Helps to decrease some of that stress here and makes it a little bit more comfortable. If it's not uncomfortable for you to do so, you can just stay seated right on the floor or on your mat. Now what we're going to do to begin is just take a quick moment to sit tall in this posture and make sure that you can be comfortable here as we do the warm-up. Taking a couple deep breaths, filling the lungs full of air, getting rid of all the stale air, so that we're giving our muscles as much fresh oxygen as possible to begin this exercise. So from here, in an easy cross-legged position, I'm going to begin by placing the fingertips right in front of the legs. This might be a good stretch for you already, so you're welcome to stay here. If you want to bring this a little bit deeper, just start to walk the hands forward a little. When you find that stretch, you're going to stay there, breathing into the stretch. Starting to let those hips open up. And then we're going to walk our hands to one side, lengthening all the way from the fingertips through to the opposite hip, feeling the stretch through the side of the body. And then walk the fingers over to the other side. Again, really reaching here through the fingers, feeling the stretch go through the hip, maybe even into the lower back. And then we come back to center and walk the fingers back in if we had them out away from us. Now, chances are you went into cross-legged position like you always do, with the same leg in front. We're going to switch that up, taking the other side leg in front. And you may find that since your default was the first one that you went into, this might be a little bit tighter. So we're going to start from square one, bringing our fingertips right in front. If this side is a lot tighter, you may stay here even if you walked out with the hands on the other side. But if you still want to add more stretch into this, walk the fingers out until you feel the stretch. As we work our hips today, we're going to focus on finding a balance between effort and non-effort. What that means is that we have to put a little bit of work in to find the stretch, but it's also a little bit about surrendering into the stretch. You'll walk the hands over to one side. Noticing any differences that you feel as we're on this opposite side. Walk the fingers over to the other side. Returning to center. And if you have the hands out away from you, walk them back in. Now bring the hands behind you onto the floor. Your fingertips can be pointed toward you or in front of or behind you, whatever is more comfortable for your wrists. You can remove whatever you're sitting on if you're up on something, and then bring the soles of the feet to the mat a little wider than hip width. As we sit tall with the top of the body, gently let the knees fall to the left until you find a gentle stretch in the hip, and then switch over to the other side. If you're really tight, this might look a little bit more like this. Very minimal movement. But what we're aiming for is as we move from side to side, we're rolling over the sacrum in the back, and we're coming to that place where we find a bit of resistance in the hips. We don't want to push that too far, but we do want to start to improve our external and internal rotation of the hip joint. And you can play with the feet position too. You can let the toes and the balls of the feet roll as you go from side to side, letting the whole foot go. Or you can bring the toes up, keeping the feet flexed, and let them roll on the heel. If your knees are a little bit achy in this, the toes up will help to support the knees a little bit. Now we come back to center, and we're going to move into tabletop. So you can do this by crossing the ankles and rolling forward, or you can swing the legs out to the side, whatever's more comfortable for you. And I'm going to switch my position on my mat so you can see better what I'm doing. With the wrists below the shoulders and the knees below the hips, we uncurl the back toes. Press the hips back towards the heels, and then we go deep into one side as we come forward, and then we go to the opposite side and back, continuing these hip circles and going at your own pace to work through some of the tightness in the outsides of the hips. And then switch directions. Noticing if the stretch feels any different going in the other way. Come back to center. To bring a little extra movement into the joint, reach the left leg back, keeping the leg bent. You're going to lift the knee. And then exhale as you bring the knee into the chest. Tuck your chin in, curving the back. And then inhale as you bring it back. Now we're going to add looking up and curl in and look up. And we're going to add breath to this. Exhaling, bringing the knee in. Inhaling as you come up. Continue moving on your own breath for a few more rounds. And relax down. Now bring your opposite leg back behind you. And bring the knee into the chest, tucking the chin in, rounding the back. And bring the leg back, this time adding your look up to the ceiling. Knee comes back in as we curl in. And come back. Now we're going to add breath for the next few rounds. Exhaling as you curl in and inhaling back. Continue this movement for a few more rounds on your own. And then release down. Curl the toes under and press the hips up and back into downward dog. You can let your heels be away from the ground. You can let your knees be slightly bent here. Keeping the head in between the arms. And now gently start to walk your dog by deeply bending one knee and then the other. Bringing more movement into the hips,
but also into the knees, the ankles, and the feet. Now come to a still spot in your downward dog. Take a deep inhale, look between the hands, and walk the feet up to meet the hands. Exhale as you fold over the legs, leaving the knees bent, letting the gravity take hold of your upper body. Take hold of opposite arms and gently sway from side to side in ragdoll. Release the arms and inhale as you stand up tall, reaching the arms up for upward facing hands pose. And exhaling, hands to heart center. Inhale, sweep the arms up. Exhale, swan dive down to standing forward fold. Your legs can stay with bent knees here if your hamstrings are tight, or you can keep the legs straight and let the body hang. On your next inhale, halfway lift up, creating a flat back like a tabletop. Release the hands back down, and we're going to take a big step back with the left foot, bringing the left knee down to the ground and uncurling the back toes. Now, if you have tender knees, you can bring a blanket, a towel, or any type of cushion underneath the back knee. We're sinking into the hips here, encouraging the body weight down and forward. This is going to help the hip flexor, this muscle right here. And if you have tight hip flexors, you probably also have a tight back. This is something that you're going to find as we go through our hip routine. It's going to help your back as well, because this muscle attaches right at the front here, goes through the pelvis, and attaches into the back as well. So it connects the top of our leg to our low back. So as we lengthen our hip flexors and open our hips a little bit more, we find a little bit of release in our lumbar spine. Now we're going to bring both hands to the inside of the right leg for lizard pose. You can stay up on your hands. You can use yoga blocks to bring the floor a little further up. Or if you have the flexibility and the openness in the hip, you can come down to the forearms. Optional to keep the right foot firmly planted on the ground, or you can roll to the outside of the right foot, letting the knee come out to the side. If you're on your forearms, return to your hands. Place the right foot back firmly down onto the mat if you have it out to the side, and bring the right hand back to the outside so that you're now framing the front foot with the hands. Curl the left toes under and lift the back knee. Inhale deeply and take a big step forward, and exhale into standing forward fold. Inhale to halfway lift. Exhale, bring the hands back down and take a big step back with the right foot. Right knee comes down, uncurling the back toes, using a moment to settle into the position, or maybe moving your cushion or blanket. Easing into the hip flexor now on the right, feeling that stretch right in the front of the thigh. Now bring the left hand to meet the right on the inside of the left foot for lizard pose. And here's where you can take your options. You can add blocks underneath the hands. You can come down onto the forearms. And you can let the left foot roll to the outside, further opening the hip. Choose any or none of these modifications and find a pose that is suitable for your body. If you're on your forearms, slowly return back up onto the hands. Plant the left foot again and bring the left hand to the outside so that we're framing the left foot. Curl the right toes under and lift the back knee. Now we're going to take a deep inhale and step back, coming into plank, and then releasing all the way down, knees, thighs, and chest. Pressing through the palms, gently lift up into a little baby cobra. Elbows are close in, shoulders away from the ears. Gently move through tabletop, finding your way to downward facing dog. On your next inhale, look between the hands. Walk your feet up to the top of the mat. Exhaling into standing forward fold. On your next inhale, lower the hips, deeply bending the knees, and bring the hands either to heart center or up above for chair pose. Slightly tuck the tailbone. And your chair might not be as low as mine. You might be further up, and that's okay as long as you're using the legs. We have to activate the muscles to help them release. On your next inhale, stand all the way up, reaching high. And exhale, hands come to heart center. Inhale to reach up. Exhale, swan dive down to standing forward fold. Bring the toes out, keeping the heels close together. And bend the knees as you walk the hands forward, taking a malasana squat variation. Again, you might not be as low as I am. You might be further up here. We're only going to hold this for about one more breath. Now we're going to release down onto our mats. Gently coming down, lengthening both legs out in front of you. And I'm going to turn again so that you have a better view of what this exercise looks like. So with the left leg stretched out in front of you, bring the right ankle over the left knee. Allow this knee out to the side. And if this feels like a really good stretch for you here, I want you to stay here, keeping this foot active. Both feet are actually active here. And gently pressing around the knee, opening the hip a little bit more. If you want to challenge yourself, you can bring the left hand around the foot, right hand under the calf, and lift the leg off of the straight leg. This is the first option here. We're going to be rocking our leg, or rocking the baby as I call it. And you can stay here if this is comfortable, or you can come a little bit deeper by placing the foot in the crook of the elbow and wrapping the other arm around the outside of the knee, hugging the leg into the body and rocking from side to side. If you're in any of these rocking variations, use the floor to massage your muscles in your glutes. And this is going to help any sciatic issues. This is going to help release some of the hip, make you feel real good afterwards, I promise. Think about drawing the knee back a little bit further every time you rock. Playing with this movement, maybe going in circles,
This is one of those that you can work however you want and just listen to your body, making movements that feel good for you. Now we're going to release this leg to the outside. Right hand comes back behind you. So same side as the bent leg. Your hand's going to come back behind you. Inhale the opposite arm up. And then exhale to hook the elbow or the hand on the outside of the thigh. We're going to use our inhales to sit tall and exhale to twist. As we use this pose, half Lord of the Fishes pose, we find a seated spinal twist going all the way from our tailbone up to the bottom of our skull, gazing over our right shoulder, not forcing the twist too much here, but allowing it to release some of the tension that we're holding in our spine. And gently release the twist, bringing the right leg out straight. Opposite side now, we bring the left ankle over the right leg. And if you can do the same thing as the other side, that will promote equality in the body. But like I said before, unevenness is really common in the hips. So you may find that you need to do different modifications on one side than the other. From here, we're going to begin by just pressing around the knee, opening the hip a little bit more. If your hips are feeling a little bit more open here, we can bring the right hand to the foot, left hand under the calf, and lift the leg. You can rock your baby from here, or you can take the alternate arm position by placing the foot in the crook of the elbow and bringing the other hand around the knee, interlacing the fingers and rocking from here. So again, play with the movements. Bring the knee as far back off to the side as you can, rolling around on the muscles underneath your glute, using the floor to massage them. And you'll find that the further you sit up tall, the more stretch this is going to give you. You may find that you're hunched over, really reaching for that. If that's the case, to help avoid some back pain, you'll come down to the next level down, right? So maybe you're here instead. Wherever you're at, go ahead and give a couple more rocks. And then we're going to bring the foot over to the outside of the right leg. Bring our left hand behind us on the mat. Inhale the right arm up. And exhale to hook the elbow or the hand on the outside of the leg. Inhaling to sit tall. And exhaling to twist. Pulling the belly in. Using your inhales to lengthen up through the spine. And using your exhales to see if you can twist a little bit deeper without forcing it too much. You should always have a little bit of discomfort, but not pain, because discomfort helps us to grow. It pushes our boundaries a little bit. But if we find pain, that's when we start to undo our progress. Take one more deep breath here in half Lord of the Fishes pose. And then inhale to release the twist, uncrossing the leg, letting it come back down, maybe shaking the legs out a little bit. And then bring the soles of the feet together. Now for this one, I really like them to be a little ways out from the body. So you can measure this by straightening the arms, letting the fingertips touch the heels. It's a little bit different than the butterfly stretch that you're probably more familiar with, where the feet are close into the body. Okay? The reason why I like it a little bit better when they're away from the body is not only does it help to open the hips, but it also helps to release the low back. And you'll see what I mean here in a second. So we'll begin by holding the ankles. Inhale to lengthen through the spine. And then exhale as we tuck the chin down and let gravity take our body down until we find a stretch here. Now you can relax into this pose, allowing it to be a little bit more restorative. Or you can use your elbows in the insides of your thighs to help open your hips a little bit more, and use your hands on your ankles to pull the body forward, increasing the stretch. Breathing into the stretch, finding that balance between effort and non-effort. Slowly start to lift back up. Nice and tall, we bring our hands to the outsides of our knees, bring our legs back together. Now I'm going to pivot back this way on my mat, but you can stay where you're at. And we are preparing to lay down. So we want to scoot forward so that our heads don't go onto the floor and make some room for us to lay down. And we begin by sitting tall and then slowly lowering the body down to the mat. Once our heads make contact with the mat, you may take any other small movements that you'd like, maybe swaying the knees side to side a couple times, or pulling the legs into the chest. Next, bring the arms out into a T, and if your legs are not into the chest already, go ahead and bring them there. Take a deep inhale, and as you exhale, release the knees over to the left, trying to keep the knees above the belly button to help you release the spine. Letting your head roll to the right. If your legs are not quite relaxed, if they're a little bit higher up, take that left hand and place it on top of the thigh. Hold the legs, anchoring them down a little bit more, providing that release in the back. And if you want to challenge yourself to go deeper, now if this relaxed position is not providing you the stretch that you think you need, you can hook the top knee around the bottom knee and relax from there. The key for this supine twist is to let the body relax as much as possible. And very gently return the legs back to center, hugging the knees into the chest. You can hug over the knees, or you can hug more around the thighs underneath the knees. Bring the arms back out into a T,
and release the legs over to the right. Again, trying to keep the knees above the navel, letting your head roll to the left. And to help you into this pose, you can bring the right hand on top of the thighs, anchoring them down. Or you can come deeper into the twist by hooking the left knee around the right knee and relaxing the twisted legs down. This is a really nice one to do in bed if you're ever looking for a way to release some of your back tension right before you go to bed, or maybe even first thing in the morning. Slowly come back to center. Give the knees one more squeeze in. And then relax down into your Shavasana. So the arms rest by the sides, and you have two options for the legs. You can walk the feet a little bit away from each other and let the knees fall towards each other so that we can relax with the knees bent. This helps to relieve the back if it is still tight and tense. But if it's comfortable for you to do so, let the legs come straight down, allowing them to roll open naturally, rounding the shoulder blades underneath us. Take a deep inhale, gather up any remaining tensions or stresses within the body or mind, and exhale them out through the mouth. And go ahead and do that one more time. Return to a normal, slow, steady breath, relaxing the muscles in your forehead as you feel a softness spreading down, unclenching the jaw, relaxing the shoulders, letting the arms become heavy. And feel the hips and the legs become fully supported. They have done their work, and now it is time for them to rest. Imagine a warm, glowing light coming from your heart center, full of love and compassion. And let that spread away from your heart center, filling up the body, finding compassion for yourself and love for yourself. And after it fills up every cell of your being, allow that to spread out through your fingertips and toes, reaching everyone that you care about, whether they're near or far. And let yourself be free for the next few moments. You can stay here in Shavasana as long as you want. And whenever you're ready to come out, wiggle your toes and fingers, bringing awareness back to the body. And then reach up overhead to stretch from fingertips to toes. Exhaling to bring the knees in. And rolling to your side, using the arm as a cushion for the head. Taking this moment to appreciate all of your efforts and accomplishments today. And then press up from the side into a seated position. Now you reach your arms all the way up and give yourself a hug. Thank you so much for sharing your time with me today. I hope your hips and your back are feeling a little bit more flexible, a little bit more open. The light in me honors and respects the light in you. Thank you. Namaste.